Hey guys, settle here. Tonight we began how ancient empires collected taxes, and where the money went, and make sure that you subscribed and comment me where are you watching from. Tonight, we will drift, slowly, through time. As you settle in, perhaps lying down or resting comfortably, we'll explore a quiet part of history that shaped civilization, but rarely gets attention in dramatic stories. Not battles. Not kings and queens ruling through force. But something far more ordinary. Something woven quietly into daily life. Taxes. A simple exchange between people and their rulers. Sometimes enforced strictly, sometimes collected gently. It is a story of grain measured carefully, coins counted slowly, and farmers recording yields by lamplight. You do not need to stay awake. You can drift in and out, as this long, slow narration guides you through centuries of calm, repeating patterns. People working, producing, sharing, supporting structures beyond their individual homes. For hour after hour. Let your breathing slow, and allow this gentle story to become background sound. Steady and predictable. The way taxes once were. Season after season. Long before coins jingled in leather pouches. Long before kings sat on carved thrones. Small farming communities asked one another for support. Harvests failed sometimes. Storms damaged food stores. A village needed shared responsibility to survive through long winters. At first, this sharing was not formal. No written record. No officials visiting each household. Just neighbors giving portions. For the good of all. A family might contribute grain to a common storage pit. Another might supply tools, or time, or labor. Eventually, leaders realized that planning ahead meant storing resources predictably, not only when disaster struck. So the idea of contribution emerged. A regular giving. A portion owed. This was the quiet seed of taxation. Not punishment. Just organization. A way to make sure that something bigger than any one person could exist. Roads. Grain silos. Temples with priests maintaining calendars. And later, soldiers guarding borders. All funded by predictable contributions. This slow shift took centuries. No single inventor. No sudden decree. Just countless people measuring grain, distributing livestock, and acknowledging the idea that shared resources helped all survive. Chapter 2, Early Systems in Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia, between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, is often called the cradle of civilization. And in that cradle, taxation evolved quietly. Imagine farmers tending irrigated wheat fields. Canals cut into the landscape. Water flowing gently downward. Each harvest season, workers would measure portions of grain to store in government granaries. There were no coins yet, so taxes were collected in goods. Grain, livestock, wool, oil, wine. Scribes kept records, using clay tablets and reed styluses. Lines pressed softly into damp clay. Symbols meaning quantities and names. These tablets dried in the sun, becoming permanent records. The pace of record-keeping was slow, methodical. A scribe would sit on a low stool, legs crossed, tablet resting on their lap. A steady rhythm. Press, lift, press again. Each stroke helping leaders know how much food to distribute to workers constructing canals, temples, or later, city walls. The taxes paid wages indirectly. The government fed workers, so grand projects could continue, even when famine threatened. This system quietly supported civilization's growth. Not dramatic. Not thrilling. Just predictable exchange. Between farmers and the state. Before metal currency existed, people paid using what they produced. A shepherd might contribute wool. A vintner brought jars of fermented drink. Farmers delivered barley. Officials measured amounts carefully, using standardized containers. This prevented disputes. A clay jar might hold a fixed volume. A balance scale might weigh precise quantities. These tools meant fairness. Everyone knew the expected portion. And because taxes were physical objects, storage buildings became essential. Granaries lined city centers. Workers constantly checked containers for spoilage, pests, or moisture. Tax revenue was fragile. A season's contribution could be lost to mold or rodents. So part of taxation was protecting stored goods. A calm but constant responsibility. Guards patrolled storage sites. Not for violent confrontations, but simply to ensure accountability. The rhythm of inspection. The sound of grain shifting in bags. The slow creak of wooden beams. All part of the quiet economy created by early taxation. Taxes were collected, not for luxury, but for public needs. In Mesopotamia, irrigation canals repaired. Temple workers fed. Religious festivals supplied. Government scribes supported. Construction labor maintained. Imagine long lines of workers clearing sediment from canal banks. Hoes striking soil in slow rhythm. Their food came from tax stores. Families who contributed earlier in the year supported this labor indirectly. And in return, they benefited from functioning canals that nourished crops. A cycle of effort and reward. Simple and repeating. Season after season. Because taxes involved many people, leaders needed accurate tracking. Clay tablets preserved contributions and distributions. Officials compared numbers to ensure fairness. The process resembled gentle bookkeeping. Not frantic, not rushed. Just careful review. Under natural light or lamplight. Day after day. These tablets, remarkably, lasted thousands of years. Because once clay hardened, it resisted decay. Modern archaeologists read the same records created by ancient tax collectors. Quiet voices of the past. Preserved unintentionally. In the quiet lands between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, where the soil was rich and the water flowed in long winding currents, the earliest known organized tax systems slowly began to take shape. Life in ancient Mesopotamia moved slowly. The rising of the rivers. The planting of barley. The harvesting of dates beneath soft evening skies. People depended on the land. And as settlements grew into villages, and villages into early city-states, leaders needed ways to support the workers, who maintained channels, dikes, and temples. In those times, taxes were not paid with coins. Coins did not yet exist. Instead, people contributed what they produced. Grain. Livestock. Oil pressed from seeds. Wool gathered from sheep. Each household knew that a portion of its harvest would be set aside for communal needs. Much of the record-keeping was done using clay tablets. A scribe pressed marks into wet clay using a reed stylus, carefully documenting the flow of goods. These tablets dried in the sun, firm and sturdy, lasting thousands of years beneath the sands. When tax time approached, families prepared their portion. Clay jugs were sealed with soft mud, and baskets of grain were tied shut with woven cords. There was no rushing. The journey to the storehouse was long and calm. often guided by the soft early morning light. The officials receiving the goods worked patiently behind long wooden tables. A scribe checked the marks on each jar, recording amounts and quality. The goods collected supported the palace, the temple workers, and the laborers who maintained canals that brought water to the surrounding fields. Water control was essential. Without the canals, farmlands could dry, crack, or flood in the spring rises. So tax contributions ensured that the fields remained fertile year after year. In a sense, taxes became a shared investment into the land itself. Certain years brought lighter harvests. In these times, records tell of tax relief or postponement. Officials understood the delicate balance between people and harvests. Inside the quiet storage buildings, rows of sealed jugs formed patterns across packed earthen floors. The gathered grain settled gently into containers, its faint scent drifting upward in the warm, still air. This system, though simple, was remarkably organized. Families accepted it as a natural part of life, as regular as the changing seasons. The process became a ritual, binding the people to one another, ensuring the smooth functioning of the settlement. In time, city-states such as Ur and Babylon expanded taxation beyond agricultural goods. Artisans paid in manufactured items. Builders contributed labor. Caravans passing through the gates paid a toll of spices, cloth, or metal. Even travelers crossing the rivers might provide a token gift, ensuring safe passage and recognition of the city's authority. Throughout generations, scribes continued their work, creating a quiet rhythm of administration. Press the reed, mark the total, confirm the seal, set the tablet aside. A simple process, yet vital for the functioning of early organized society. The story of Mesopotamian taxes is not a tale of conflict or royal demand, but a reflection of cooperation, a shared effort to manage water, land, and labor for the good of the entire community. And now, as the listener settles more comfortably, the story drifts onward to the banks of another river, where pyramids rise beneath endless skies. Along the banks of the Nile, life flowed in gentle rhythms, dictated by the rise and fall of the river. The people of ancient Egypt relied on its waters to nourish their crops, to sustain their cattle, and to support the many households along its fertile banks. Taxes in Egypt were closely tied to this natural cycle. Instead of coins, most contributions came in the form of grain, barley, and other produce. At harvest time, farmers carefully measured their portions. Clay jars were filled slowly and methodically. The grain, sometimes dusted with the faint residue of soil, was placed in baskets and carried to nearby granaries. These granaries were often tall, rounded structures, made of mud brick, with narrow openings at the top. Inside, the grain settled quietly, creating layers like the soft strata of the river's banks. Scribes sat nearby, reed stylus in hand, recording each contribution onto long sheets of papyrus. Their strokes were deliberate, precise, documenting amounts and names for future reference. Some scribes worked near windows, where gentle sunlight streamed in, illuminating the warm brown pages before them. The occasional chirping of birds outside punctuated their rhythm. A calm, steady routine, unbroken by urgency or stress. Inspectors also played a crucial role. They walked along canals, through fields, measuring land to determine expected yields. They used ropes, stakes, and measuring rods, moving at a deliberate pace, observing quietly rather than rushing. Temples too were intertwined with taxation. Offerings often counted toward contributions. Priests maintained records, stored grain carefully, and ensured that community resources were allocated for the benefit of all. Some grain-funded workers who repaired canals. Others supported construction projects, temples, monuments, and administrative buildings. When the Nile flooded and fields were submerged, peasants sometimes worked for the state, receiving a portion of tax grain as compensation. A slow and harmonious cycle, intertwining the natural rhythms of the river with human labor. Transportation was a careful process. Boats moved slowly along canals, carrying baskets and jars. Oxen-drawn carts took over when waterways ended, their wheels turning steadily along dirt roads. People and animals alike moved at an unhurried pace, ensuring that contributions reached granaries intact. Within the granaries, storage required constant vigilance. Workers inspected for cracks, sealed doors with clay, and sometimes smoked the grain to protect against pests. Everything proceeded with methodical patience, maintaining both quality and quantity. Redistribution was just as careful. Grain-fed laborers maintaining temples and canals, supplied the priests, and ensured that people in nearby towns could survive years of poor harvests. Everything balanced delicately, with no sudden disruptions. Following centuries of practice, even in times of shortage, officials adjusted contributions gently, allowing for reduced portions, ensuring that the system supported life rather than disrupted it. And all the while, the river moved slowly, its annual floods predictable, its waters nurturing the land, just as taxes nurtured society. Through this quiet system, ancient Egypt thrived. Structures endured. Agriculture persisted. People contributed, recorded, and redistributed resources in steady, deliberate patterns. The story of Egyptian taxation is one of rhythm and continuity, of the soft, patient work of many hands, of scribes, laborers, inspectors, and farmers. A civilization built not on haste or spectacle, but on slow, deliberate cooperation. As your mind drifts, you can imagine the soft sound of grain being poured into clay jars, the quiet scratching of reed on papyrus, and the gentle motion of the Nile as it nourishes fields across centuries. The narrative will soon move further forward in time, to the bustling world of ancient Rome, where coins replace grain, and records multiply. Yet the slow, repetitive rhythm of collection and redistribution remains, along the winding roads of the Roman Empire. Life moved with a measured rhythm. From the hills of Italy to the provinces along the Mediterranean, citizens and officials alike followed predictable patterns. One of the most important of these patterns was taxation. Rome, unlike Egypt or Mesopotamia, had coins, gold, silver, and bronze, which allowed for a more standardized system. Yet the collection of taxes remained slow, deliberate. A rhythm of daily life rather than sudden imposition. At the heart of Roman taxation was the census. Every 5 years, citizens registered their households. Officials recorded names, property, family members, and estimated wealth. Families queued patiently, presenting information in calm order. Scribes etched details onto wax tablets, lines forming slowly under practiced hands. The census ensured that contributions were fair, proportionate, and organized. It was not rushed. It was a predictable event, much like the rising of the Nile in Egypt. In many provinces, Rome employed private contractors known as publicani to gather taxes. These individuals bid for collection contracts, then visited towns and villages slowly, meeting with local residents, documenting contributions in ledgers, and transporting funds carefully to the treasury. Collectors and their assistants moved at an unhurried pace, counting coins, weighing goods, and recording each transaction meticulously. The system required patience and rewarded diligence. The Romans produced coins with exact weights and stamped images, representing authority and trust. Mint workers operated slowly, heating metal, pouring it into molds, cooling it carefully, then hammering designs onto each piece. Coins flowed through markets, workshops, and households, their presence enabling the empire to manage a vast network of obligations. From one quiet village to another, Roman taxes often depended on land ownership. Surveyors measured fields, using ropes, stakes, and rods, walking slowly across plots, and recording findings. These measurements determined contributions. Larger estates owed more, smaller plots owed less. Landowners prepared for these assessments calmly, understanding that participation maintained social order. The rhythm was slow, natural, and repetitive, ensuring continuity throughout the empire. Trade contributed to the empire's wealth. Merchants paid duties when crossing borders, at ports, or in city markets. Inspectors opened cargo slowly, examining goods carefully, calculating fees. Caravans waited patiently, scrolls unrolled and calculations made. Coins exchanged hands, counted deliberately by attentive officials. Revenue supported roads, bridges, aqueducts, and public buildings, quietly maintaining the fabric of Roman society. Collected wealth moved methodically to regional treasuries. Chests of coins were transported under guard, traveling steadily along Roman roads. Balance scales checked weight. Ledgers recorded arrival and distribution. Redistribution funded laborers, bureaucrats, grain distributions, and public works. The flow of resources followed predictable routines, creating stability across a sprawling empire. For most Romans, taxation was a quiet rhythm. Farmers prepared coin or goods in advance. Merchants calculated dues and recorded trades. Officials maintained ledgers with measured attention. The process was unhurried, familiar, woven into daily schedules like meals or work in the fields. Taxes, though inevitable, were not sudden or alarming. They were part of life's predictable flow. Roman taxation, in its quiet and systematic nature, supported society in numerous ways. Maintaining roads for travel and trade, supplying aqueducts for clean water, funding public buildings and grain distribution, supporting bureaucrats and scribes. Though the empire was vast, its mechanisms relied on patient, methodical labor. Coins passed slowly from hand to hand. Ledgers filled steadily with recorded entries. Inspectors and clerks moved in calm repetition, ensuring that resources flowed as intended even centuries later. Archaeologists and historians can trace these patterns through documents, inscriptions, and coins, quietly whispering the story of Roman administration. Next, we will drift forward into medieval Europe, where feudal obligations, tithes, and labor replaced coins in many villages. And the rhythm of taxation remained deliberate and slow. Imagine now Roman roads stretching under soft morning light, coins counted carefully, and scribes writing patiently in quiet offices. The world moves steadily, and you may let your mind drift alongside it in medieval Europe. Most people lived in small villages, surrounded by fields, forests, and rivers. Daily life moved with the seasons. Spring brought planting, summer brought tending, autumn brought harvest, and winter brought rest and reflection. Taxes followed this natural rhythm. Unlike the coins of Rome, many contributions were made in kind: grain, livestock, or labor. Peasants delivered a portion of their harvest to local lords or religious institutions, fulfilling obligations passed down through generation. The feudal system organized society around land. Lords owned estates. Knights protected the land. Peasants worked the plots. In exchange for the right to farm, peasants owed dues. These could include a share of harvested crops, work on the lord's fields, maintenance of roads, fences, or buildings, contributions of livestock or textiles. Payments were seasonal, aligned with agricultural tasks. Harvest time demanded grain. Spring required plowing assistance. Autumn brought construction or repair. The system was methodical, predictable, and calm. Large estates kept careful records of contributions. Clerks wrote in thick ledgers. Quills scratching parchment slowly. Letters forming with deliberate precision. Entries listed. Names of tenants. Land parcels. Quantities owed. Dates of fulfillment. When peasants delivered goods or labor, the clerk checked and recorded it. This steady process ensured fairness and continuity in the estate's operations. Even in a world without modern accounting, simple tools, parchment, quill, ink, maintained order. In addition to dues to lords, villagers contributed tithes to the church. A tithe usually represented 1/10 of a household's agricultural output. Grain, eggs, wool, and other produce were delivered to tithe barns. Large wooden structures with high ceilings and wide doors. Inside, the air smelled of straw, dried grain, and faint earthiness. Workers stacked bundles carefully, arranging them for later distribution. These resources supported clergy, church maintenance, and charitable works. The cycle repeated year after year. With calm predictability. Money was often scarce, so labor substituted for coins. Peasants worked a set number of days. On the lord's fields or projects, work was seasonal, aligned with the farming calendar. Wood fences were repaired in spring. Fields were tilled and planted in summer. Harvests were gathered in autumn. Records of labor days were kept using notched sticks, marking each day completed. Even this system, though simple, followed a slow, predictable rhythm. As towns grew, markets became central to village life. Taxes applied to stall rentals, bridge or gate tolls, transportation of goods, standards for weights and measures. Merchants paid calmly. Coins counted by clerks. Records updated slowly, often by candlelight. Revenue funded roads, bridges, and basic public services. The process, though repetitive, ensured continuity and reinforced trust in the system. Collected goods moved to manor granaries, tithe barns, town storehouses. Seasonal patterns determined flow. Spring, wool or flax deliveries. Summer, grain transport. Autumn, root vegetables and preserved goods. Workers inspected storage for spoilage, sealing cracks and ensuring preservation. Redistribution supported estate households, clergy, skilled laborers, community relief during poor harvests. Slow, deliberate processes maintained social stability. Medieval taxation rarely changed abruptly, systems evolved slowly to match climate, population, and agricultural cycles. Generations followed the same routines. Measuring and delivering goods. Performing required labor. Recording obligations in ledgers. Repetition created stability. And predictability reduced conflict. The rhythm of daily life, work, harvest, contribution, formed a quiet, enduring structure. As Europe moved into the early modern period, Small feudal domains slowly merged into larger kingdoms. Kings and queens sought stability. And part of that stability came from centralizing tax collection. Offices and bureaucracies were established to manage records, calculate obligations, and ensure that contributions reached the royal treasury. The pace remained slow and deliberate. Officials copied ledgers by candlelight, counted coins carefully, and verified shipments of goods with measured attention. Trade expanded across rivers and seas, and governments established customs houses. These quiet buildings stood near docks, where ships brought goods from distant lands. Officials opened crates slowly, checked manifests, and calculated duties. Merchants waited patiently. Coins exchanged hands, and records were updated carefully, all without haste. Revenue supported harbors, roads, and lighthouses, maintaining the flow of commerce across kingdoms. Excise taxes were applied to specific goods: salt, textiles, alcohol, imported spices. Inspectors visited production sites, counting items and recording details. Workers paused during inspections, allowing officials to verify quantities. Then resumed tasks. Everything moved with measured rhythm, ensuring fairness without conflict. Some taxes were based on household features: hearths, windows, chimneys. Officials walked slowly through villages, counting structures, writing observations in ledgers. The number of hearths indicated wealth, and thus the amount of tax owed. The process required minimal disruption, integrating seamlessly into daily village life. Governments expanded record-keeping offices. Parcels of parchment and ledgers filled rooms with neatly stacked bundles. Clerks worked slowly, copying entries, filing documents, and preserving records for future reference. Sunlight filtered through high windows, dust motes drifting lazily, as hands moved quills across parchment. This calm, repetitive work underpinned the growing power of centralized states. Revenue collected from provinces traveled methodically to central treasuries. Caravans of carts carried chests of coins, moving slowly along roads, accompanied by guards. At checkpoints, seals were verified, and ledgers updated meticulously. The process was unhurried, deliberate, designed to minimize error and maintain accountability. Coins became standardized, with consistent weight and design. Mints operated carefully. Metal melted and poured into molds, cooled, and stamped. Inspectors verified quality, ensuring coins could circulate freely, and simplify tax calculations. In some regions, private individuals or groups collected taxes under contract. Periodic audits verified accuracy. Receipts were preserved, and routine inspections ensured fairness. Collectors visited markets, towns, and estates slowly, updating ledgers, counting coins, and transporting revenue to treasuries. The system required patience, diligence, and trust. Across towns and countryside, taxes became integrated into everyday life. Families prepared payments. Merchants calculated contributions. Officials recorded each transaction, all in a steady rhythm. The predictability of these cycles helped stabilize societies, ensuring that resources supported infrastructure, public works, and social services. Collected revenue funded roads and bridges, town watch services, postal networks, administrative buildings, ceremonial functions, limited social relief. Through calm, deliberate collection, governments could coordinate resources beyond the reach of individual households, creating stability over generations. As the 18th and 19th centuries unfolded, national governments expanded authority across entire countries. Instead of local lords or feudal obligations, central administrations now manage taxation. The process became more standardized, with formal offices, official forms, and regular schedules. People submitted contributions through written records, coins, and eventually banknotes. The rhythm remained slow, deliberate, as officials copied entries, calculated amounts, and transported funds carefully. In some countries, income taxes emerged as a new method of collecting revenue. Instead of relying solely on land or goods, governments asked citizens to report earnings. Forms were filled out calmly, numbers calculated with patience, and ledgers updated methodically. Collectors and accountants moved steadily, ensuring accuracy and fairness, creating a quiet, predictable flow of contributions. With national systems, record-keeping became more formal. Paperwork multiplied. Receipts, ledgers, accounting books, forms submitted by citizens. Clerks worked carefully, checking numbers, copying entries, and filing documents. Large filing rooms, with rows of shelves, held orderly bundles of paperwork. The sound of paper rustling and pens scratching slowly created a gentle, steady rhythm. Collected funds moved through banks and treasuries. Money was counted, weighed, and verified. Carriers transported coins and notes cautiously. The pace remained slow and deliberate, as oversight ensured funds reached the intended destination. Checks and audits prevented errors, maintaining trust in the system. Revenue now supported broader public services, including roads and bridges, schools and universities, hospitals, fire and police services, postal services, administrative offices, national defense. Though the sums were larger, the process followed predictable cycles. Citizens filed forms on set dates. Officials recorded and verified, and resources were allocated slowly and steadily. Modern taxation, though complex, maintains a rhythm. Annual filing deadlines, regular inspections, routine audits, periodic payments. Each step follows a calm, repetitive pattern, allowing citizens, officials, and accountants to plan and adapt gradually. From Mesopotamia to the modern era, taxation has always been about rhythm, patience, and slow, deliberate exchange. Whether in grain, labor, coins, or digital entries, the principle remains. Resources are collected carefully, stored responsibly, and redistributed to maintain society, even as methods change. The underlying pattern is consistent. A gentle cycle of contribution, recording, and support. Imagine clerks filing documents by lamplight, merchants submitting contributions slowly, funds moving carefully through bank vaults, public services operating predictably. All of this unfolds quietly, day by day, year by year, creating the stable framework on which modern societies rely. The story of taxes is not dramatic. It is slow, repetitive, and methodical. It is ordinary, predictable, and essential. And now, as you settle more comfortably, you can allow your mind to drift, following the quiet rhythms of centuries of human contribution that in the 20th and 21st centuries. Technology began to transform taxation. Calculations that once took days now occur in seconds. Electronic records replace paper ledgers. Databases store information securely. Yet the rhythm remains familiar. Collection, verification, storage, and redistribution. Citizens and businesses submit tax forms digitally. Numbers are entered slowly, deliberately. Verifying accuracy, forms are transmitted through secure networks. Data traveling steadily from one system to another. Even with speed, the process retains calm predictability. Deadlines structure the year, ensuring contributions are regular and organized. Software now performs calculations automatically. Tax rates are applied. Deductions are verified. Amounts owed or refunded are computed. The user interacts slowly. Clicking, reviewing, confirming. Behind the scenes, systems process information in an orderly, step-by-step manner. Mirroring centuries-old scribes counting grain or coins. Records are stored electronically in servers and secure databases. Backup copies ensure continuity. Access is controlled carefully. The system is designed to prevent error, just as clay seals protected grain in ancient Egypt, or as ledger clerks verified entries in medieval Europe. Data flows predictably, checked by automated systems and human oversight alike. Even in digital systems, audits ensure fairness. Inspectors review reports. Errors are corrected. Compliance is verified. These processes are methodical, following regular schedules, and rarely sudden or dramatic. Automation makes the rhythm calm. Alerts, checks, and balances flow in structured order. Revenue funds services in the modern world. Education, healthcare, transportation, public safety, social security, infrastructure. The mechanisms may have changed, but the principle remains unchanged. Taxation sustains society, ensuring continuity and stability. Electronic funds transfer allows citizens to pay taxes without physical interaction. Bank transfers, direct debit, online portals. Funds move slowly and securely through virtual channels, arriving at government treasuries efficiently, yet predictably, even without physical coins. The process remains methodical, deliberate, and calm. Across millennia, taxation has followed the same gentle principles. Regular cycles, predictable schedules, systematic collection, careful storage, redistribution to support community. From grain in Mesopotamia to digital transfers today, the rhythm remains steady, soothing, and reliable. Imagine digital records flowing through secure networks. Automated calculations verifying numbers slowly. Officials reviewing data carefully. Funds reaching public projects predictably. The modern world, though fast, preserves the same calm repetition that has sustained civilizations for thousands of years. Taxes are ordinary, essential, and rhythmic. They provide structure, continuity, and quiet stability. Close your eyes and drift backward through history. The clay tablets of Mesopotamia, where farmers carefully measured grain. The Nile in Egypt, carrying baskets of harvest to temple granaries. Roman roads stretching far and wide. Coins counted with quiet diligence. Medieval villages. Tithes delivered slowly, labor performed patiently. Early modern kingdoms. Clerks recording contributions with measured strokes of a quill. The modern digital era. Electronic funds and automated calculations flowing methodically. Each era repeats a simple pattern. Collection, recording, storage, and redistribution. The tools change, but the rhythm remains calm, steady, and predictable. Across thousands of years, taxation has always followed a gentle cadence. It is not sudden, not chaotic, but repetitive and structured. Whether through grain, labor, coins, or digital numbers, Societies have relied on this rhythm to survive, to maintain order, and to support communal life. The soft, measured steps of scribes, officials, and clerks echo through time. The slow flow of resources keeps societies functioning, like the steady pulse of a river. Imagine granaries lined with clay jars, their contents measured and stored carefully. Roman coins clinking softly in leather pouches, counted patiently by scribes. Medieval barns filled with bundles of wheat, stacked neatly for distribution. Officials in early modern states, filing thick ledgers under soft sunlight. Digital numbers moving silently through modern servers and bank networks. All of these flows move deliberately, quietly, and without rush. At the heart of taxation is the human element. Farmers contributing their harvest, scribes recording with careful hands, clerks counting coins, officials verifying data, citizens participating in structured routines. These ordinary acts, repeated daily and annually, build the foundations of civilization. Patience, order, and rhythm govern the process, allowing societies to thrive over centuries. Even in the modern digital era, the underlying principle remains unchanged. Steady contributions sustain life. As you continue to listen, allow your mind to drift gently. Imagine centuries of human effort, moving in quiet repetition. Feel the calm, slow rhythm. Grain poured carefully into jars, coins counted slowly on balanced scales. Labor performed methodically in fields. Digital numbers flowing predictably through systems. All of it moving with purpose, yet unhurried. This is the quiet heartbeat of civilization. Taxation, at its core, is not dramatic or alarming. It is ordinary. It is methodical. It is necessary. It sustains communities, funds public works, supports social stability, and allows civilization to endure. Across time, across continents. From ancient Mesopotamia to the modern digital age, the pattern remains constant. Contribution, recording, storage, redistribution. A gentle, predictable, and calming rhythm. As the narration comes to a close, allow yourself to settle completely. Drift with the slow, steady flow of history. Imagine the centuries of calm, deliberate work that built the world we live in today. Let your mind float alongside. The Nile, Roman roads, medieval villages, early modern offices, digital servers, all moving with unhurried rhythm. Breathe slowly. Feel the calm. And rest, carried gently by the soft, steady pulse of human civilization. Imagine a distant village in Mesopotamia. Farmers gather barley beneath the soft morning sun. Officials approach slowly, recording each household's contribution. But here is a story of generosity. One farmer, instead of offering the full measure, donates a little extra, hoping it will be stored for those in need. The scribe notes it carefully on clay tablets. The gentle clink of small jars being stacked echoes across the quiet village. Tribute in these times wasn't just duty, it was also cooperation. A rhythm of contribution, reflecting the delicate balance of community life. Travel now along the Nile. Past lush green fields glistening with morning dew. Imagine pharaohs observing the yearly flood. Grain taxes collected slowly, measured carefully, and stored in massive granaries. Workers move silently through tall corridors, lined with clay jars, each stamped with symbols indicating origin and quantity. The pharaoh's vision was not wealth alone. It was sustaining life, maintaining temples, and ensuring that the river's abundance supported generations. The soft rustle of straw, the warm smell of stored grain, and the gentle steps of laborers create a calm, mesmerizing rhythm. Shift to the Roman Empire. Imagine a bustling town near a long paved road. Coins are counted slowly, carefully stacked in leather pouches. Collectors move methodically, transporting funds for grain distributions or public works. Alongside, scribes note the details in wax tablets. Everything is repetitive, predictable, and deliberate. A quiet rhythm that maintains order across an empire stretching from Britain to North Africa. The sound of coins clinking is steady, like soft rainfall on stone streets, marking the slow heartbeat of civilization. Picture a medieval village at dawn. Smoke curls from chimneys, animals stir in pens, and villagers carry grain to the church's tithe barn. The barn is quiet inside, filled with golden stacks of wheat and barley. Workers arrange bundles with care, inspecting each for quality. The church distributes some to the poor, some to clergy, and some to maintain roads and bridges. Even in a world without coins, these routines are precise, repetitive, and soothing. Now imagine early modern Europe. Clerks in long halls under gentle sunlight write in ledgers slowly, recording contributions from towns and villages. Merchants submit taxes for salt, textiles, and imported spices. Caravans carrying funds move steadily along roads, escorted by guards who walk at a deliberate pace. The rhythm is deliberate. Collect, record, store, redistribute. Everything is measured, planned, and predictable. Fast forward to the modern era. People sit at desks, entering numbers into forms online. The computer hums softly. Calculations complete instantly. Funds move electronically. Audits happen automatically. Records stored in secure databases. Yet, the same gentle rhythm continues. Contribution, recording, storage, redistribution. The digital era mirrors ancient processes, but with modern convenience and speed, all while preserving the soothing predictability of the system. Take a deep breath and visualize. Mesopotamian farmers measuring barley. Egyptian granaries filled with golden grain. Roman coins stacking softly in leather pouches. Medieval barns stacked neatly with wheat. Modern digital records flowing steadily across servers. The rhythm of human effort is constant, soothing, and methodical. The heartbeat of civilization continues, quietly supporting societies across millennia. Imagine a medieval European town. A slow morning mist covers the cobblestone streets. Salt, precious and rare, is taxed carefully. Merchants bring barrels from distant mines. Officials measure each barrel slowly, weighing, noting the quantity, and stamping records in ledger books. The sound of wooden barrels rolling and quills scratching paper creates a gentle, methodical rhythm. Even small towns depended on this system to fund roads, defense, and public services. In some European cities, a tax was based on the number of windows in a house. Imagine a quiet street. Officials walk slowly, counting each window, noting every chimney, every hearth. The residents, calm and patient, observe the routine. Each count helps the town plan, funding maintenance, streets, and guards. This unusual method, though curious, was a predictable rhythm embedded in daily life. Travel now to the age of exploration. Ships move slowly across oceans, carrying tea, spices, and other precious goods. Colonial officials calculate duties, unhurriedly counting chests and barrels. Merchants wait patiently, recording transactions in detailed ledgers. Every tax, though foreign in nature, supports infrastructure, trade, and governance. The rhythm remains consistent. Collect, record, store, redistribute. Imagine a rural village in Ming Dynasty China. Farmers are called upon to perform labor for the local state. They repair canals, maintain bridges, and work in fields. Officials supervise slowly, keeping records on bamboo slips. The farmers move deliberately, following the daily rhythm of work and contribution. The system, though not monetary, mirrors the same calm, methodical patterns found in Europe or Mesopotamia. Visualize a quiet Ottoman town along the Bosporus. Tax collectors approach homes, measuring land and wealth with careful attention. Residents provide contributions in goods, coins, or labor. The scribe records each entry meticulously, while the collector ensures fairness. Even in a sprawling empire, the process is methodical, repetitive, and predictable. The rhythm supports both local life and central administration. Some taxes were unusual, yet part of the gentle rhythm of history. In ancient Rome, funerary taxes supported burials of citizens. In medieval England, a tax existed on hearths to fund town defenses. In Japan, rice contributed to temples counted as a tax. Each of these taxes, though different in form, followed the same slow, methodical flow. Assessment, collection, record-keeping, redistribution. They all contributed to social stability, quietly shaping communities. Imagine. Funds from trade taxes build libraries and schools. Temple contributions support music and art. Grain taxes enable festivals and public ceremonies. Even taxation, in these moments, becomes a gentle tool for cultural continuity. The slow, deliberate rhythm of contribution creates the foundation for education, art, and community life. Across continents and eras. Mesopotamia, Egypt, Rome, Medieval Europe, Ming China, Ottoman Empire. Taxation has always followed similar patterns. Regular cycles, predictable collection, methodical recording, thoughtful redistribution. No matter the form, grain, coin, labor, or digital. The rhythm is soothing, repetitive, and reliable. The heartbeat of human civilization moves gently through fields, temples, towns, and servers, carrying societies forward across centuries. Imagine traveling a quiet road in medieval Europe, where merchants carry sacks of salt and barrels of pepper. Tax collectors walk alongside slowly, weighing each sack with care, writing numbers meticulously in ledgers. The merchants wait patiently, the soft clink of coins punctuating the calm morning. Even spices, rare and precious, follow the gentle rhythm of contribution, helping towns maintain bridges, roads, and marketplaces. In many rural regions, labor formed the bulk of taxation. Imagine a spring morning. Peasants gather to repair dikes or plow fields. Officials supervise quietly, noting who arrives and how long they work. Summer brings planting. Autumn brings harvest. Winter is a time of rest, reflection, and planning. The cycle repeats year after year, a predictable pattern woven into life itself. In ancient and medieval societies, taxes often supported public ceremonies. Picture a sun-drenched village square. Contributions of grain, wine, and cloth collected slowly, used to prepare for harvest festivals, religious processions, or royal visits. Workers arrange offerings methodically, while scribes record each contribution carefully. Even festive taxation follows the same calming rhythm. Collection, recording, storage, redistribution. Across history, tax collectors were ordinary people doing repetitive work. A scribe in Mesopotamia scratches symbols into clay at dawn. A clerk in early modern Europe copies ledger entries by candlelight. A modern auditor reviews electronic submissions slowly, methodically. Each action may seem small, but cumulatively, it sustains communities, infrastructure, and stability. The quiet, patient work of collectors is the invisible heartbeat of civilization. Some taxes were strange, yet methodical. Beard tax in Russia, citizens paid to keep facial hair, scribes recorded each beard. Window tax in England, each window carefully counted and recorded in ledgers. Hat tax in Austria, hats measured and taxed, contributing to municipal funds. Even the unusual taxes follow the same rhythm. Assess, record, collect, redistribute. Each system reinforces predictability, patience, and societal structure. Temples, churches, and mosques often receive contributions. Grain, livestock, coins. Labor for construction and maintenance. Gifts for ceremonial occasions. Officials recorded these contributions slowly, ensuring fair allocation. These cycles maintain cultural life, education, and public welfare. Following centuries-old patterns. Imagine calm seas and slow-moving cargo ships. Customs officials measure imported spices, textiles, and metals. Scribes record each transaction on long ledgers. Coins or goods are carefully transported to the central treasury. The flow of trade taxes mirrors the rhythm of river and ocean currents, steady, deliberate, and predictable, across centuries and continents. Taxes may be paid in grain, coin, labor, or digital numbers. They may be unusual, ceremonial, or ordinary. They may fund temples, roads, or schools. Yet the process remains constant. 1. Assessment. 2. Collection. 3. Recording. 4. Redistribution. The heartbeat of human civilization flows gently through these predictable patterns, connecting farmers, merchants, clerks, and modern citizens in one long, slow, deliberate rhythm. Imagine the slow passage of a year in a quiet village. Spring, farmers prepare fields, officials measure the land carefully. Summer, labor contributions are performed, scribes record work with deliberate strokes. Autumn, harvest taxes are collected, grain and produce are stored in barns. Winter, minimal collection, records are reviewed, and planning begins for the next year. The seasons themselves dictate the rhythm of taxation. Each cycle moves slowly and predictably, allowing societies to thrive without disruption. Picture an ancient scribe. The warm sun on his back. A reed stylus in his hand. Pressing symbols into soft clay. Each mark represents months of careful work by villagers. Their barley, their livestock, their labor. Now imagine a medieval clerk. Candlelight flickers across parchment. Quill scratching carefully. Every entry is repeated day after day. Yet each is crucial, ensuring fairness and continuity. Even today, a modern auditor reviews numbers slowly, verifying digital submissions, preserving centuries of the same gentle rhythm. In many societies, tax collection followed meticulous steps. 1. Assessment. Officials or surveyors carefully measure land, wealth, or goods. 2. Notification. Citizens are informed of their obligations in person or via record. 3. Delivery. Contributions are made, whether grain, coin, or labor. 4. Recording. Scribes and clerks document each contribution methodically. 5. Storage. Goods or coins are stored safely in granaries, treasuries, or banks. 6. Redistribution. Resources are used to support public works, ceremonies, or social needs. Each step is performed deliberately, slowly, and predictably. This structure ensures societal stability and continuity. Imagine a rural village in Asia, Europe, or the Middle East. Farmers rise with the sun, tending crops or animals, carrying contributions to granaries. Merchants carefully calculate tolls or market duties. Officials slowly record entries in ledgers, checking details multiple times. Every day follows a predictable rhythm. No sudden chaos, only calm, measured steps. In cities, the process is similar but more complex. Traders and merchants pay market fees, tolls, and customs duties. Clerks manage coins and goods, carefully counting and storing each item. Records are updated with attention to detail. Sometimes under soft lamplight at the end of the day. Even in bustling towns, the pace is deliberate. Patience governs every step, ensuring fairness and accuracy. Many societies collected taxes aligned with festivals or agricultural milestones. Harvest festivals, grain and produce are delivered. Spring ceremonies, labor contributions for irrigation or field preparation. Winter review, officials inspect records and plan for the upcoming year. These cycles create a calming, cyclical rhythm that repeats gently, year after year, across time and place. The story of taxation is also the story of human patience. Farmers contributing their harvest. Scribes and clerks recording carefully. Officials supervising and verifying. Citizens following a slow, repetitive routine. This quiet, methodical work sustains civilizations, allowing life, culture, and governance to continue uninterrupted. Even as technology advances, the underlying rhythm, slow, deliberate, predictable, remains unchanged. Imagine now. Clay jars stacked carefully in Mesopotamian granaries. Roman coins counted under soft morning sunlight. Medieval barns filled with golden wheat. Early modern offices lined with parchment ledgers. Modern servers humming quietly as data flows predictably. The steady pulse of contribution and redistribution has been constant for thousands of years. Each act, each record, each coin or grain moves with gentle precision. The heartbeat of civilization continues, slow, calm, and reassuring. Imagine a quiet French village centuries ago. Salt, a precious commodity, is taxed heavily under the gabelle. Merchants travel slowly with barrels along cobbled streets. Collectors weigh and measure each sack carefully, recording each transaction in large, methodical ledgers. The villagers accept this rhythm patiently, knowing their contributions fund roads, local guards, and market regulation. Even unusual taxes like this follow a deliberate cycle, blending curiosity with continuity. In England, during a soft spring morning, an official strolls through quiet streets, counting windows in every home. Families watch calmly, as scribes note the details slowly in thick ledgers. A widow with few windows pays less. A merchant with a grand house pays more. The rhythm is predictable, repetitive, and soothing. No haste, only steady observation and record-keeping. Imagine St. Petersburg in the 18th century. Peter the Great imposes a beard tax to modernize his nation. Collectors move through streets slowly, counting beards, stamping receipts, and recording each citizen. Even such an unusual tax follows the same slow, deliberate pattern. Assess, record, collect, redistribute. Citizens comply, and the empire maintains its calm, ordered rhythm. Across civilizations, religious contributions often doubled as taxes. Temples in Egypt receive grain, oil, and livestock. Churches in medieval Europe receive tithes of 1/10 of harvests. Mosques and shrines collect offerings for upkeep and charitable work. Scribes record each offering slowly, stacked carefully in granaries or storehouses. Even ceremonial contributions create a soft, predictable rhythm, blending devotion with civic responsibility. Imagine bustling ports. Asian spices arriving in small boats. European merchants loading textiles into slow-moving caravans. Ottoman officials inspecting goods along the Bosporus. Collectors weigh and measure. Scribes record details carefully. Coins or goods are stored safely. The rhythm is slow, deliberate, and steady. The heartbeat of trade, commerce, and civilization itself. One may wonder, why do people comply with taxes? Across history, the answer is simple. Predictability, fairness, and routine. Farmers know what portion is due and when. Merchants follow known rules. Officials act methodically and visibly. Compliance grows not from fear alone, but from the calm, steady rhythm of contribution and redistribution. Even unusual taxes are accepted when the process is methodical, reassuring, and fair. Close your eyes and imagine. Clay tablets in Mesopotamia. Roman coins counted quietly under soft sunlight. Medieval barns stacked with golden wheat. Early modern ledgers filled under lamplight. Modern digital forms flowing through servers. Every contribution, every record, every coin or grain moves with gentle precision. The heartbeat of civilization continues. Slow, calm, and reassuring. As you drift deeper, reflect on the role of taxation. Supporting communities. Funding education, roads, and health. Enabling culture and ceremony. Maintaining social stability. It is ordinary, repetitive, and essential. The gentle rhythm of collection, recording, storage, and redistribution is a soothing cadence that connects you to the past. Picture centuries of human effort. Mesopotamian farmers pouring grain into clay jars. Egyptian granaries stacked carefully. Roman roads lined with coins moving slowly. Medieval barns organized meticulously. Early modern clerks writing in ledgers. Digital records flowing calmly through modern servers. The rhythm is slow, predictable, and unbroken that it spans generations, continents, and cultures. You are part of this gentle, persistent flow. Imagine a village somewhere in ancient Asia. Spring, farmers contribute labor to prepare irrigation canals. Summer, crop maintenance involves small taxes in grain or produce. Autumn, harvest contributions are collected slowly, measured meticulously. Winter, officials review records and plan for the next cycle. This annual rhythm creates a predictable cadence, soothing the community with repetition and order. The rhythm is like the gentle passing of the seasons themselves. Travel now in imagination across the globe. Africa, tribes pay taxes in livestock or woven textiles, slowly assessed and recorded. Japan, samurai households contribute rice to local authorities, carefully measured in small barrels. Mesoamerica, farmers deliver cacao beans and maize, each transaction noted meticulously. South America, Incan rulers use labor taxes called mita, moving villagers slowly in rotation for public projects. No matter the form, the pattern is constant. Assessment, collection, recording, redistribution. It is slow, deliberate, and reassuring. Imagine the life of a tax collector. In a small village, she walks from house to house, noting contributions in a leather-bound ledger. A merchant in the town square waits patiently as coins are counted slowly. An auditor in the modern world reviews digital records, verifying calculations with deliberate care. Across centuries, their work is repetitive yet vital, maintaining calm, structured systems that support society. In many cultures, taxes coincided with rituals. Egypt, grain offerings to temples during festivals. Medieval Europe, village harvest tithes for church ceremonies. Asia, seasonal contributions for local temples or shrines. Ottoman Empire, goods delivered during religious holidays, recorded slowly by scribes. The process blends spirituality with civic duty, creating a calm, meditative rhythm. Visualize quiet harbors at dawn. Ships dock slowly, unloading spices, silk, and metals. Customs officials measure and record every item meticulously. Coins or goods are transported to central treasuries at a deliberate pace. Even long-distance trade flows with methodical calm, mirroring the predictable rhythms of land-based taxation. Across continents and centuries. Mesopotamian clay tablets. Egyptian granaries. Roman roads with coins. Medieval barns. Early modern ledgers. Digital servers. All show the same gentle pattern. 1. Assessment. 2. Collection. 3. Recording. 4. Redistribution. This rhythm is soothing, repetitive, and essential. It connects humans across time, culture, and geography. Take a deep, slow breath. Imagine grain pouring into ancient jars, picture coins counted carefully in Roman towns. Visualize medieval barns stacked with golden wheat. See early modern clerks writing under lamplight. Watch digital numbers flow through modern systems. All of this is a continuous, gentle rhythm. A heartbeat of civilization. It is slow, deliberate, and calming. Consider. The farmer measuring contributions slowly. The scribe recording each entry. The merchant counting coins carefully. The modern auditor reviewing digital submissions. All these small, patient acts sustain societies, public works, and culture. The pattern is predictable and calming. Like a river flowing steadily through time. Close your eyes and drift with history. Barley in Mesopotamian jars. Egyptian granaries bathed in sunlight. Coins moving along Roman roads. Wheat stacked neatly in medieval barns. Ledgers carefully maintained in early modern offices. Digital records flowing through modern servers. Feel the slow rhythm, the calm, unhurried heartbeat. That has persisted for thousands of years. You are part of this continuous, gentle flow. Connected to the quiet efforts of countless generations. Imagine a quiet village in West Africa. Farmers bring kola nuts, yams, or livestock as tribute. Village elders record each contribution on wooden tablets or in memory. Officials distribute resources carefully, supporting the community and local rulers. The rhythm is calm and deliberate. Each contribution measured, recorded, and redistributed slowly. Even in bustling marketplaces. The process moves predictably, like a river flowing steadily through the land. Now travel to the Andes. Where the Incan Empire requires labor as tax, called mita. Villagers rotate slowly to work on roads, terraces, or irrigation projects. Supervisors record attendance carefully, ensuring fairness. Work proceeds in measured steps, day after day, season after season. The rhythm is predictable, repetitive, and soothing. Ensuring that the empire thrives while people contribute gradually. Imagine a calm Chinese town during the Ming Dynasty. Tea leaves are weighed slowly, measured for taxes. Merchants wait patiently as officials record each transaction. Coins or goods are stored in secure ledgers, marked carefully. Even something as ordinary as tea contributes to the slow, steady heartbeat of governance. The repetition of measurement and record-keeping is almost meditative. In early colonial America, a tax on windows, doors, or hearths ensures funds for local roads. Citizens follow predictable routines, submitting payments calmly. Scribes or collectors record each contribution slowly, methodically. Even unusual taxes create a sense of order. Anchoring society in a gentle rhythm of give and receive. Picture a day in history. A Roman tax collector walks the stone streets slowly, counting coins. A medieval scribe records tithes under soft candlelight, repeating the same motions for hours. An early modern auditor reviews a stack of ledgers with meticulous care. A modern digital accountant verifies forms electronically, slowly, deliberately. Every act, small or large, contributes to stability. The rhythm of civilization is calm, repetitive, and reassuring. Across time and continents, seasonal cycles govern taxation. Spring, preparation, planting, and initial contributions. Summer, maintenance, labor, and minor dues. Autumn, harvest collection, measured carefully. Winter, review, planning, and reflection. The cadence is predictable, soothing, and restorative. It mirrors the natural cycles of the earth, creating harmony between human life and the environment. Close your eyes and picture the flow. Barley poured into jars in Mesopotamia. Grain stacked in Egyptian granaries. Coins counted along Roman roads. Wheat stored in medieval barns. Ledgers maintained in early modern offices. Digital records flowing calmly through modern servers. The rhythm of contribution, recording, storage, and redistribution connects all of these images into one gentle, continuous heartbeat of civilization. Consider the people behind these systems. Farmers measuring grain slowly. Scribes writing with care. Clerks counting coins deliberately. Modern officials verifying records electronically. Every patient act sustains communities, builds roads, funds schools, and preserves culture. The gentle repetition forms the unseen pulse of human life across millennia. Breathe slowly, calmly. Imagine centuries of effort moving in quiet repetition. Feel the rhythm of contribution and redistribution flow gently through time. Let each act, every coin counted, every grain measured, every labor recorded, be part of a slow, soothing pattern. The heartbeat of civilization is unbroken, steady, and reassuring. It lulls the mind into calmness. Connecting past, present, and future in one slow, meditative rhythm, across thousands of years and all continents. Contributions were always assessed, recorded, stored, and redistributed. The forms changed, grain, coins, labor, digital numbers, but the rhythm remained the same. Civilizations thrived because people acted patiently, consistently, and deliberately. The story of taxation is not dramatic. It is quiet, methodical, and gentle. And in that quiet, the pulse of humanity continues. Slow, steady, and calming, now we're diving deep into the world of ancient empires, exploring not battles or legends, but something quieter, something far more deliberate, taxation. How humans, thousands of years ago, figured out how to organize their societies, pay their rulers, and keep empires running, one grain, one coin, one animal at a time. So, before you get comfortable, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan, let the soft hum fill the background. Ease into it. This is a story of patience, repetition, and careful human effort that stretched across continents and centuries. Imagine Mesopotamia, cradle of civilization. Cities rise slowly out of the fertile riverbanks, their mud brick walls climbing, enclosing the lives of farmers, merchants, priests, and scribes. Each year, farmers bring their barley, their wheat, and their livestock to the temple. The temple is more than a place of worship, it is a center of administration, a bank, a warehouse, a pulse point for the entire city. Officials measure the grain, counting it with careful precision, weighing bundles, noting them on clay tablets that will endure long after the people who wrote them are dust. A small group of scribes inscribes the numbers slowly, each mark deliberate, intentional. This is how order is maintained. Each offering has a purpose. Some grain feeds the priests, some is stored for future crises, some is sent along trade routes to neighboring cities. Every single contribution has a path, a destination, and a reason. The collection itself is deliberate. Farmers wait their turn, standing quietly as officials inspect their goods. Each animal is noted, each sack weighed. If the weight is insufficient, adjustments are suggested. Perhaps the farmer brings another basket from the field, perhaps a neighbor contributes. Nothing is rushed. Everything has its rhythm. The process is repetitive, predictable, and it is beautiful in its simplicity. In this slow, methodical system, society functions. Civilization survives. Now picture ancient Egypt, along the Nile. The annual inundation arrives, water spilling over the banks, leaving behind fertile silt. Fields are measured, plots inspected, and the pharaoh's officials arrive to assess contributions. Grain is collected in large baskets, sometimes boats are filled, carrying wealth downriver to the granaries. The pharaoh does not need coins, the economy runs on abundance, on the tangible measure of productivity. These granaries are immense, stone structures lined with jars, stacked high with food, ready to feed the workforce, the army, the priesthood. Some of this grain is used immediately to pay workers building pyramids, temples, and canals. Some is stored for the lean seasons, to stabilize cities when crops fail. And some is exchanged for goods from afar, spices from Punt, timber from the Levant. Every collection has a purpose, every transaction a clear intention. And the people, from the farmer to the scribe, understand the rhythm. Give what is due, it will be used, it will move along the system, it will maintain order, move westward to the Persian Empire, where satraps oversee vast provinces. Here, taxes are both systematic and adaptable. A census determines the population, the number of households, the amount of arable land, and the expected tribute. Officials travel slowly across villages, recording data, ensuring fairness in distribution, and avoiding overburdening any one community. Too much stress, and productivity collapses. Farmers pay in grain, livestock, textiles, or metal goods. Merchants pay in trade revenue. Soldiers are provisioned directly from stored wealth. And all of it flows into a grand imperial system, feeding the capital, maintaining armies, building roads, and supporting monumental constructions. Every coin, every measure of grain, every animal has a place in the chain. This is bureaucracy in motion, centuries before modern government, executed with patience, attention to detail, and human oversight. The Roman Empire extends this system even further, adding sophistication and scale. Roads are built not just for travel but for efficient tax collection. Inspectors and accountants move along paved highways, carrying records and coins. Taxes are assessed on land, on goods, on slaves, and on trade. Merchants paying tolls at ports, farmers submitting a portion of harvests, and citizens paying in coin all feed a structure that maintains one of the largest empires the world has ever seen. Collected wealth goes to soldiers, to public works, to aqueducts and baths, to grain doles for citizens, and occasionally, to lavish games designed to maintain social peace. The flow is steady, deliberate, unbroken, and critical to keeping the machine of empire running. Across the deserts of the Near East, camel caravans carry tribute across vast distances. Taxes collected in remote villages are packed carefully onto animals, with every bundle counted, every sack documented. Scribes travel with the caravan, marking clay tablets as record. The wealth moves slowly, deliberately, across harsh terrain to the capital, where it is stored, counted, and redistributed. The rhythm of travel mirrors the rhythm of bureaucracy. One miscount, one lost caravan, and the system is disrupted. But when executed correctly, it functions like clockwork, connecting the most distant corners of the empire to a central authority. In China, the Han dynasty establishes a taxation system where labor, grain, and metal coins all coexist. Peasants may pay in rice, work on canals, or provide military service. Officials inspect fields, record data meticulously, and ensure the treasury has sufficient wealth to maintain the bureaucracy, fund defense, and sustain the emperor's vision. Every measure is noted, every transaction recorded. Funds flow from the village to the capital and then back out again, supporting infrastructure, grain storage, and administrative centers. Even in times of famine, when collection is difficult, the system adapts, smaller amounts, deferred payments, but the rhythm continues. Civilization functions through patient, repeated cycles of contribution, record-keeping, and redistribution. Even in the Aztec Empire, a vast network of tribute is maintained. Conquered provinces are required to send goods, cacao, textiles, precious feathers, obsidian, to the capital. Officials measure and catalog every item, directing it toward temples, palaces, and armies. Tribute collectors travel regularly, inspecting villages and ensuring the flow remains steady. This is not chaos. This is a carefully observed rhythm, with checks, balances, and a long-term understanding of sustainability. The tribute supports the priests, the construction of temples, and the maintenance of the social hierarchy. Each offering has a purpose, and the people understand their role. The point is that taxation, in all ancient empires, is far more than a forced extraction. It is a tool of organization, a mechanism for survival, a predictable rhythm that keeps the gears of society turning. Whether grain, livestock, coins, textiles, or labor, each contribution moves slowly but purposefully from the individual to the community, from the village to the capital, from the scribe to the ruler. Officials count, weigh, inspect, and record. Granaries are filled. Treasuries swell. Armies are provisioned. Roads, canals, and monuments are built. Societies continue. Civilization endures. And just like in medieval times with their slow, almost ritualistic approaches to medicine and disease, these ancient systems were designed around predictability, repetition, and human oversight. Mistakes happened, sometimes catastrophically, but the general flow persisted. It is fascinating to watch, in imagination, the slow, deliberate pulse of these societies, the silent rhythm of civilization in motion. Contributions move like water, officials record like clockwork, wealth flows like a river, and the empire lives, breathes, and expands, all because humans committed to consistent, patient, and organized effort. So tonight, as you drift through this history, picture the granaries, the clay tablets, the caravans, the roads, and the scribes. Imagine the patient farmers waiting, the merchants counting, the officials recording, the empires sustained. Think of the wealth moving deliberately from village to capital, from tax to treasury, from collection to purpose. And in that thought, find the quiet marvel of human organization, the patient, measured, repeated rhythm that kept civilizations alive for centuries, long before modern banks, computers, or governments existed. This is the story of taxes, the hidden lifeblood of empires, and the invisible architecture of survival, and as you sit back, relax, let the rhythm of ancient bureaucracy, meticulous collection, and careful redistribution wash over you. One grain, one coin, one record at a time. The ancient empires pulsed slowly but steadily, and for thousands of years, civilization survived, expanded, and endured. And now, with every inhale and exhale, you are part of that quiet rhythm, tracing the careful steps of humanity as it learned, painfully and patiently, how to organize itself into something lasting. Now, imagine the Babylonian Empire, where kings ruled not just by force, but by careful, systematic oversight. Every citizen had an obligation. Farmers brought barley, flax, and livestock to city officials. Merchants paid duties on goods entering marketplaces. Even artisans contributed a portion of their production. The city scribes recorded everything on clay tablets, marking quantities, dates, and names with meticulous care. These records were not mere numbers, they were instructions for survival. Granaries were stocked according to these calculations, ensuring that during droughts or shortages, no one would starve entirely, or at least, starvation could be minimized. Money itself was rare, the economy relied on measured goods, moving slowly, deliberately, like water following channels carved into stone. Travel west to the Assyrian Empire, and you'll find a similar rhythm, but on a grander, more disciplined scale. Provinces paid tribute in silver, animals, and agricultural produce. Official inspectors traveled long distances, following narrow roads, rivers, and mountain passes. Every load was weighed and noted, every village inspected at least once a year, sometimes twice. Couriers carried clay tablets with records to the capital, where royal accountants compiled them. The wealth flowed into the king's treasury, used to maintain an army that patrolled vast lands, to construct ziggurats and palaces, and to sponsor monumental campaigns. Every contribution had a dual purpose, supporting the ruler and sustaining the system. Even rebellions were barely chaotic, they were failures of organization, failures to maintain the flow of resources that in Egypt, the system becomes even more tangible. Grain, the lifeblood of the empire, is collected from villages along the Nile. Officials travel by boat, stopping at every settlement. They count sheaves of wheat, jars of beer, and animals. Each entry is noted in papyrus ledgers with precise symbols. Granaries near the capital hold the collected wealth, and workers are fed from these stores. Soldiers receive rations, farmers are incentivized to maintain irrigation systems, and monumental projects, temples, pyramids, canals, are built. The Nile itself becomes a ledger, moving goods with predictable rhythm. During the inundation season, taxes are collected in advance, preparing for months when land is underwater. The empire survives because the movement of resources is patient, deliberate, predictable. Now, consider the Mauryan Empire in India. Taxes are collected not just in grain but in cash, cloth, and labor. Inspectors move through provinces, accompanied by soldiers for protection and scribes for record-keeping. Markets are regulated, prices and transactions are noted. The treasury in Pataliputra stores wealth to pay the army, maintain roads, and fund public works. Workers receive rations, citizens are supported during famines through state granaries. Even in this vast empire, the principle is the same: contributions are collected slowly, methodically, and carefully recorded, then redistributed for public use. Civilization functions because there is rhythm, order, and patience. Trade routes add another layer of complexity. Across the Persian Empire, merchants moving silk, spices, or textiles are taxed at border crossings and marketplaces. Officials weigh goods, inspect quality, record each contribution. The wealth flows along the royal road, a slow-moving river of coins and goods, connecting far-flung provinces to the imperial capital. In China, trade along the Silk Road is similarly regulated. Taxes, tolls, and contributions are recorded carefully, and the government ensures that caravans are protected and that resources are redirected to maintain cities, supply armies, and fund infrastructure. The process is slow, deliberate, and almost hypnotic in its rhythm. In the Roman Empire, taxes take on a new level of sophistication. Land taxes, census assessments, tolls, and customs duties are collected with precision. Inspectors visit provinces, while accountants record payments in ledgers that span rooms of offices. Coin and grain move toward Rome and regional capitals. The collected wealth supports roads, aqueducts, military campaigns, and public entertainment. Public granaries are filled, armies are provisioned, and society continues to function with remarkable efficiency. Even when corruption or mismanagement occurs, the system persists. It relies on patient human effort more than technology, more than instantaneous communication. The empire survives because humans persist in counting, recording, transporting, and distributing. Let's slow down and imagine the details of collection itself. Inspectors travel long roads, sometimes walking, sometimes on horseback, carrying bundles of forms and ledgers. They arrive at villages, stopping at each household. Farmers line up patiently, offering portions of harvest, livestock, or handmade goods. Each contribution is inspected. Is it the right quantity? Is it measured accurately? Scribes write down the numbers, carefully forming each mark in ink or on clay. Officials note anomalies. Merchants pay tolls on goods passing through markets. Nothing is rushed, every action follows a deliberate, repetitive rhythm that ensures nothing is lost, nothing misrecorded, and the empire survives another season. Even in the far reaches of empires, such as in the deserts of the Middle East or along distant trade routes, this system continues. Caravans carry grain, animals, or coins across vast distances. Each bundle is documented, recorded, and verified multiple times before reaching the treasury. The movement is slow, deliberate, and critical to maintaining order. Without this patience, the empire falters. With it, even the most remote province contributes to the smooth functioning of the whole. Now picture the Aztec Empire. Tribute is collected from conquered provinces in exacting detail. Every item, cacao, textiles, precious stones, feathers, is counted, recorded, and delivered to the capital. Scribes travel with tribute collectors, marking each item in codices. Temples receive their share, the royal palace receives its share, and soldiers and workers are provisioned. The system is astonishing in its meticulousness, relying entirely on human organization, patience, and repetition. Every contribution has a purpose. Every record matters. Civilization functions. Through all of these examples, there is a common thread: patience, repetition, and careful observation. Taxation in ancient empires is not chaos. It is rhythm, it is predictability, it is a silent pulse that moves through centuries, connecting farmers, merchants, scribes, officials, and rulers. Wealth flows slowly, deliberately, and purposefully. Granaries fill, treasuries swell, armies march, roads are built, temples rise, and cities endure. Civilization survives because humans, patiently, insist on organization, even in the absence of modern tools. As you imagine these ancient empires, picture the flow of resources, from villages to capitals, from farmers to treasuries, from inspectors to scribes. See the granaries, the ledgers, the roads, and the caravans. Hear the soft scratching of the stylus on clay, the quiet counting of coins, the gentle stacking of grain jars. Each action is deliberate. Each repetition is essential. Each contribution keeps civilization alive, and in this slow, hypnotic rhythm, find a kind of calm. The ancient empires pulse with patience, human effort, and careful organization. They thrive not because of magic, but because of repetition, attention, and the quiet understanding that every contribution, no matter how small, matters. One grain, one coin, one record at a time. That is the lifeblood of empires. That is the heartbeat of civilization. And now, as you sit back and breathe slowly, imagine yourself flowing with that rhythm, tracing the careful, deliberate steps of humanity as it learned, patiently and meticulously, to sustain itself across millennia. Now, let's drift into a quiet morning in ancient Mesopotamia. The sun rises over the Fertile Crescent, soft light spilling over mud brick walls. Farmers gather at the city gates, carrying baskets of barley, sacks of wheat, and herds of goats. Officials in simple robes inspect each offering carefully. Every grain is counted. Every animal is measured. Scribes sit patiently, stylus in hand, pressing symbols into clay tablets with a rhythmic, deliberate motion. The sound is subtle but steady, almost hypnotic, like rain tapping gently against a roof. The farmer stands patiently, handing over what is due. Perhaps a few extra measures are requested. Perhaps an inspection reveals a slightly damaged basket, and a notation is made. Nothing is rushed. Nothing is ignored. Each contribution will flow into the granaries, providing for workers, soldiers, and priests. Some grain will be stored for famine seasons. Some will be traded for tools or textiles. Some will feed the city itself. Every item has a path, every offering a purpose. Civilization survives because of these small, deliberate acts repeated daily, season after season. Now, imagine the Persian satraps moving through their provinces. Camel caravans travel slowly across deserts, carrying tribute from distant villages to the capital. Each load is carefully documented. Scribes walk alongside, marking clay tablets, ensuring that no animal, no coin, no sack of grain is lost. Every detail matters. Tributary provinces pay in livestock, textiles, metal goods, and silver coins. Some of this wealth supports armies stationed along borders, ready to protect trade routes. Some funds public works, maintaining roads, canals, and bridges. And some is stored for times of crisis, droughts, uprisings, or invasions. The system depends entirely on patience, repetition, and meticulous recording. The empire endures because humans insist, quietly and methodically, that wealth move predictably through the system. In Egypt, the rhythm is similarly hypnotic. Along the Nile, small boats transport grain and produce from villages to the capital. Tax collectors row slowly upstream, inspecting each bundle. They measure grain, check the quality of fish or livestock, and scribes note every detail in papyrus ledgers. Granaries are immense, stacked high with jars and baskets. Laborers remove contents carefully, storing them in neat rows. Some of the collected grain feeds construction workers building canals and temples. Some is rationed to soldiers guarding borders. Some flows outward to feed city populations during lean seasons. The system is deliberate, continuous, and essential. Each contribution, no matter how small, has a place, a purpose, a path. Travel now to the Han Dynasty in China. Inspectors move through villages, tallying rice, labor, and coins. Taxes are paid in kind or service. Farmers submit a portion of their harvest, peasants contribute labor to maintain canals, roads, and irrigation systems. Merchants pay duties on trade items, all recorded carefully. Officials send reports to the capital, where accounts are compiled and resources allocated. Granaries hold rice to prevent famine. Soldiers are fed and armed. Projects like the Great Wall and canals are maintained. Even in difficult years, the collection is adjusted, patiently and meticulously, ensuring survival and continuity. The rhythm of empire moves slowly, deliberately, and persistently. Now imagine the Aztec tribute collectors traveling through conquered provinces. They arrive at villages carrying codices and counting tools. Every feather, every cacao bean, every piece of cloth is documented. Scribes inscribe codices with careful precision. Tributes are transported to the capital, distributed to the temples, palaces, and armies. Some goods are stored for future ceremonies. Some are consumed immediately. Some support warriors who patrol the empire. The entire system operates on repeated, predictable cycles. Each collection, each movement of goods, reinforces social order. Civilization continues because humans act with patience, attention, and deliberate care. Picture Roman tax inspectors traveling along paved roads. Soldiers escort them, while accountants carry scrolls. Land taxes are assessed, census information verified, tolls collected. Merchants pay tariffs on imported goods, citizens submit their share of property taxes, and the wealth flows toward Rome. Granaries, treasuries, and public works receive allocations. The Colosseum, roads, aqueducts, and city infrastructure are funded. Soldiers, bureaucrats, and workers are provisioned. Every coin, every grain of wheat, every animal has a precise place in the system. Officials move slowly, record carefully, and ensure that the empire functions smoothly. Even in the distant corners of empires, from deserts to mountains, the rhythm continues. Tributary villages in harsh climates contribute animals, grain, and labor. Caravans carry goods across rivers and passes. Scribes record every detail. The treasury grows. Armies are provisioned. Roads are maintained. Temples are fed. The empire survives because humans insist on patient repetition and meticulous recording. Imagine the movement of resources in your mind. A farmer delivers grain. A scribe marks it on a tablet. A caravan carries it to the capital. Officials store it in granaries. Soldiers are fed. Roads are repaired. Temples are supplied. The cycle repeats daily, seasonally, year after year. Wealth flows slowly, deliberately, predictably. Civilization persists because every contribution has a path and purpose. Now, picture a day in the markets. Merchants weigh goods, record sales, pay duties. Inspectors verify transactions. Grain, livestock, textiles, and metal coins are counted and allocated. Ships move along rivers, carrying trade goods to distant ports. Every transaction is noted. Every resource moves slowly, predictably. Empires thrive because humans insist on this steady, rhythmic flow. Even during crises, the system adapts. Famine, drought, or invasion may reduce available resources, but the flow continues. Adjustments are made patiently. Contributions are reduced or deferred, but the rhythm of collection and distribution persists. Granaries still store food. Armies are still provisioned. Cities continue to function. Civilization endures because humans maintain this slow, deliberate, and consistent process. And as you sit back, breathe slowly, imagine the flow. Granaries filled with grain, treasuries filled with coins. Caravans moving across deserts. Inspectors recording contributions in villages. Scribes marking codices and clay tablets. Soldiers fed. Temples supplied. Roads repaired. Cities maintained. Each contribution, no matter how small, feeds the pulse of empire. Civilization survives, expands, and persists because humans act patiently, deliberately, and consistently, one grain, one coin, one record at a time. And now, imagine this rhythm carrying you. Inhale slowly, exhale slowly. Picture the slow, hypnotic movement of wealth, labor, and resources across continents and centuries. Let it wash over you. Feel the patient pulse of empires, moving deliberately, endlessly, carefully. Every act, every transaction, every record matters. Civilization endures, sustained by rhythm, repetition, and patience. Now, imagine the first light of dawn over a small village in Mesopotamia. The air is cool, still, with soft bird calls in the distance. Farmers rise slowly, carrying baskets of barley, jars of oil, and small livestock. They move carefully, deliberately, because they know the day will involve inspections, counting, and the slow rhythm of contribution. At the city gate, officials in simple robes await, their presence calm but authoritative. Every farmer is attended to in turn. Every basket is inspected. Scribes sit with clay tablets, stylus in hand, marking symbols carefully, one deliberate stroke at a time. The rhythm is almost meditative. A farmer places barley into the official's basket. The official weighs it. The scribe records the amount. A goat is led forward, inspected for age and health. Its contribution noted. Nothing is rushed. Each action follows a slow, deliberate pace, ensuring accuracy and fairness. The granary waits patiently, ready to receive its contents. This is the heartbeat of civilization, quiet, repetitive, and necessary. In Persia, the satraps begin their day with similar precision. Inspectors ride out from the provincial capital at first light, riding slowly along dusty roads and mountain paths. They carry bundles of clay tablets and ink, while soldiers accompany them for protection. Villages along the route line up, knowing that their contributions, grain, livestock, textiles, and coins, must be delivered in an orderly fashion. Scribes record each item carefully, noting quantity, quality, and origin. Caravans of camels follow, carrying collected goods to the next province, and eventually to the central treasury. The system moves like clockwork, each participant performing a specific task, each contribution serving a greater purpose, maintaining armies, funding public works, and sustaining the central administration. Now picture the Nile in Egypt. The river glistens in the morning light. Boats filled with grain, fish, and produce drift slowly downstream toward the capital. Tax collectors sit aboard, inspecting every load. Grain is measured, fish counted, and livestock checked for health. Scribes write diligently in papyrus ledgers. The granaries along the banks are immense, stacked with baskets and jars. Some grain will be used immediately to feed laborers building canals and temples. Some is set aside for soldiers stationed along borders. Some is reserved for city populations, ensuring that even during dry seasons, no one goes without. Every item has a purpose, every transaction a clear path. In Han China, inspectors begin their morning by walking through rice paddies, noting yields and the number of workers. Peasants contribute a portion of their harvest, and labor is recorded. Merchants pay duties on goods traveling along rivers and roads. Scribes meticulously record all contributions, ensuring that the capital receives the resources needed to maintain the bureaucracy, fund public works, and support the military. Granaries hold rice for times of scarcity. Roads and canals are maintained. Soldiers are fed and armed. Even when natural disasters strike, the system adapts, collecting reduced contributions or temporarily deferring taxes, but never losing its rhythm. The empire endures because the flow of resources is patient, deliberate, and constant. Let us imagine the Aztec tribute collectors traveling slowly through conquered provinces. They arrive with codices, tallying every feather, every cacao bean, every piece of cloth. Scribes inscribe each detail with precision. Tributes are carefully transported to the capital, where they are distributed among temples, palaces, and armies. Some goods are used immediately for ceremonies or public works. Others are stored for future use. Soldiers are provisioned. Temples are supplied. Merchants trade with resources collected. Everything moves along a carefully maintained cycle. Civilization thrives because the process is repeated faithfully, day after day, season after season. Consider the Roman Empire. Inspectors travel along paved roads, accompanied by soldiers. They stop in towns and villages to record land taxes, collect census information, and assess tolls. Merchants pay duties, citizens submit property taxes, and collected wealth flows toward the capital. Granaries, treasuries, and public works receive allocations. The Colosseum, roads, aqueducts, and city infrastructure are maintained. Soldiers, bureaucrats, and laborers are provisioned. Every coin, every sack of grain, every animal has a precise place. The system relies on patience, attention to detail, and careful repetition. Civilization endures because humans maintain these rhythms over centuries. Now, imagine the long trade routes that connect provinces to capitals. Caravans move slowly along dusty roads and river paths. Camels, horses, and oxen carry goods carefully. Inspectors travel with them, checking loads and recording quantities. Scribes mark every transaction. Granaries, treasuries, and warehouses await patiently at every stop. Soldiers accompany the caravans for protection. The flow is deliberate, steady, and hypnotic. Wealth moves predictably, connecting distant corners of the empire to the heart of the administration. Civilization survives because every step is measured, recorded, and accounted for. Let us slow down further and picture a single day in a bustling market. Merchants weigh their goods, record sales, and pay duties. Inspectors verify every transaction. Grain is counted. Livestock is measured. Coins are carefully tallied. Ships move along rivers and canals, carrying goods to distant ports. Each movement is recorded. Each transaction matters. The empire functions because humans repeat these small actions with patience, dedication, and care. Even during crises, the rhythm continues. Famine, drought, or invasion may reduce resources, but officials adapt. Contributions are reduced, deferred, or substituted. Granaries store food. Soldiers are fed. Roads and canals are maintained. Temples receive supplies. Civilization survives because the cycle of collection, recording, and redistribution continues uninterrupted. Now, imagine the entire empire as a living system. Farmers deliver grain. Scribes record it. Inspectors oversee the process. Caravans transport resources to granaries. Soldiers receive rations. Roads are maintained. Temples are supplied. Cities continue to function. The rhythm of empire is slow, deliberate, and steady. One grain, one coin, one record at a time. Civilization endures, expands, and persists because humans act consistently and patiently over centuries. And now, as you listen and breathe slowly, picture the rhythm of ancient empires surrounding you. Granaries filled with grain, treasuries filled with coins. Caravans moving through deserts, mountains, and rivers. Inspectors checking villages. Scribes marking records. Soldiers being fed. Temples receiving tribute. Roads being repaired. Cities thriving. Every contribution matters. Civilization survives because humans insist on patience, repetition, and careful attention. Inhale slowly. Exhale slowly. Picture the slow movement of resources across continents, through villages and cities, along trade routes and rivers. Feel the quiet pulse of empires, the deliberate flow of tribute, the patient rhythm of administration. Every act, every record, every contribution keeps civilization alive. And now, as you drift with that rhythm, imagine yourself flowing with it, tracing the careful, deliberate steps of humanity as it sustained itself across millennia, one grain, one coin, one record at a time.